A few months ago, me and two friends decided to climb North Africa's highest mountain, Mount Toubkal in Morocco. The problem? I suffer from pretty bad altitude sickness, and we did nothing to prepare. We had no guide and no accommodation.
Is it possible to book for 3 people for tonight?
No, so sorry. We're fully booked.
All I had with me was my trusty audiobook and Peter Dinklage as a close companion.
We're up there. We might see something.
In other words, this is the story of how I almost stopped breathing in Morocco.
What are you doing, Timon?
Packing?
Why?
That's a dumb question. Because we're hiking up a mountain. You moron.
To peak a mountain of over 4,000 meters, we figured a couple of cans of tuna, some water, and a warm winter jacket would be enough.
I brought you a jacket.
As you can tell, we had no idea what we were in for. This is Timon, by the way. He's an avid traveler from Germany. And joining us is Alex, who speaks about 5 languages. She's one of the kindest people I've ever met. She's the sort of person that will pick up other people's rubbish.
I know you're doing a good deed, but with the sunglasses and the scarf, you look like an old hag.
To climb Toubkal for yourself, you first need to reach the town of Imlil, which is only an hour and a half out from Marrakesh. There are plenty of taxi services available for this exact route. However, we found the cheapest option to be a local bus that cost us only 50 dirham a person, but it leaves you with little legroom. This route weaves its way through the Atlas Mountains, peering down sheer cliff faces that will make anyone with a fear of heights second guess their life choices. Imlil's quiet, save for the bustling tourism industry that centers entirely around hiking up and down Toubkal. Fair warning, nowhere here accepts card payments, and there's not a single ATM. So make sure you bring enough money to pay for the hike, accommodation, and food.
It's had a string of bad luck. Turns out that not planning this ahead of time was not the greatest idea. Much of our accommodation has already been booked. We've organized to maybe sleep on a roof. It also turns out that booking a guide with only 1 day in advance is not as easy as you might have otherwise guessed.
Even after finding our accommodation with a surprisingly beautiful view and organizing our guide for the following day, we weren't out of the woods. It turns out you need to pre-book your accommodation at the refuge in Toubkal's base camp if you want to stay there.
I think they just hung up on me.
Is it possible to book for 3 people for tonight? For tomorrow night?
No, so sorry. We're fully booked. Camp? I think.
Yeah, what if we don't have a tent? Can we sleep on the floor?
No, it's not possible.
Can we have a private room?
All the private rooms and dorms are fully booked.
Later that night, another group cancelled, and we were able to secure their 2-bedroom room for our 3-person group, and figured when we got there, we'd hope for the best. we continued to hike, it became very apparent that one of us was going to get left behind.
Whoa. We still have such a long way to go. I don't know what I expected, thinking it would be easy to pick the tallest mountain in North Africa.
From the very beginning, I trailed behind the other two. Soon, they were far ahead of me, almost imperceivable in the distance. And then, they weren't even there at all. And things only seemed to be getting worse.
My dislike of heights has not left me, and this is certainly an experience that churns my stomach.
But worse than my fear of heights, altitude sickness was starting to kick in. Altitude sickness is a series of symptoms, nausea, headache, and shortness of breath, caused by the body's failure to adjust to changes in oxygen and air pressure at high altitudes. A high altitude is defined as 2,400 meters above sea level or more, and a very high altitude is 3,600 meters or more. We're at just about 3,000 meters right now, with another 1,200 to go, and I'm already in bad shape. With no hope of catching up to the group, I turned to my audiobook. Right now I'm listening to A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin, the second book in the Song of Ice and Fire series. While I listened, I couldn't help but find myself relating to the dwarf Tyrion Lannister.
I have a tender spot in my heart for cripples, bastards, and broken things.
He was likewise left behind by a society who had rejected him. In many ways, we were like brothers. I had my fear of heights, while he existed in a world with a fear of shorts.
You go sleep, dwarf man. Sleep good, little dwarf man.
As Tyrion and I walked our paths alone, Stannis Baratheon laid siege to King's Landing. And when no one else was brave enough to step up and fight, it was Tyrion, my Lion of Lannister, who led the vanguard against him. I couldn't help but feel inspired. If Tyrion could overcome Stannis Baratheon, then I could overcome my altitude sickness, and I could overcome Toubkal, the tallest mountain in North Africa. And a mountain, it turns out, I still had not seen.
Toubkal's behind that, like we still can't see it. Every mountain I'm just like, look, it's Toubkal!
And it hasn't been.
Yeah, it's never... Well, he thought it was funny.
But do you know what I could see? Were my friends, Toon and Alex, who, as it turns out, had waited for me by base camp so that we could enter together.
Hey there.
Hey?
I thought we'd go in together. We're gonna pass all the way through there.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna actually see Toubkal, climb it.
So we're not actually going to see Toubkal until like tomorrow morning when we get here.
I mean, no, but this one's nice. Just like waiting for you. Actually, speaking of a meal, you hungry, big boy?
Yeah, always.
And with that, we ate our tuna and crackers and went to bed. The ice and darkness added an extra layer of complication to my struggles. at the times where I thought that I couldn't go on any further, my mind went to Tyrion, and I asked myself, what would he do? Would he give up? Or would he continue climbing? Besides, I had something Tyrion didn't. Friends.
How do you feel?
Terrible.
You'll be fine.
But despite their positivity, the altitude was starting to overcome me. I was feeling nauseous, out of breath, and dizzy. I could hardly walk straight, and with so much ground left to cover, I stopped thinking I wasn't going to make it and started to know that I wasn't going to make it. It turns out I wasn't like Tyrion at all. There was no grand plan to overcome Tukal. All I was doing was holding Alex and Timon back.
Yeah, also I think I'm capturing your beauty quite well right now as well.
Alright. Vamos.
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 Yalla, yalla.
I tried to stay in good spirits, but with each step, I felt no closer to Tukal and only closer to defeat. Soon my lips chapped, my eyes started to swell, and my head pounded with every aching step. I tried not to view it as giving in. I thought back on all I had accomplished so far, and I was already so high. Surely that, in and of itself, was an achievement. It was time to stop. And then, for one last time, I asked myself, what would Tyrion Lannister do?
If we were up there, we might see something everyone else is missing. Something that makes a difference.
Death is so final, whereas life is full of possibilities.
You're in the great game now. And the great game is terrifying. The only people who aren't afraid of failure are madmen. Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor. And it can never be used to hurt you. Because you have no cock.
With the help of my friends, I did it. I reached the peak.
This is your final boarding call.
If you enjoyed that video, why don't you climb to the peak of one of the other ones? The one on the left shows me going out into the Sahara Desert on my own just to see a set of stairs.
Let's go for a walk.
No.